Are you out of your fucking mind? Tegan shouts, glaring at the woman in front of her. This is not what we agreed on. Why in the hell would you kill a court maid, especially one that works directly for Letitia? Oh, please, Tegan, stop acting like such a saint, like you haven't done much worse. The heavens, no, Tegan yells out again. I might be a lot of things, but I'm no murderer. This is becoming far too dangerous. Darium will definitely look into the death of the handmaid, not when she is someone Letitia cares about. Why did it have to be her? You said she was a good use for you, why kill her then? A scowl grew in the woman's face, and her hands clenched as she recalled what transpired that very day. That bitch was about to snitch on us, she was going to tell Letitia everything. I couldn't let that happen. She sneered. All this would have been avoided if she had just done what she was told, but no, she dared to chicken out, ruining a perfectly good plan. Tegan heaved out a breath, her eyes wandered around the enclosed room in fright. What are you going to do now? What if you get caught? A dark, sinister laugh filled the room, and Tegan stared at the woman in front of her with a face full of fright. They were in a grave situation, but it seemed not to affect her. When she struck a deal with her, never did it cross her mind that it would result in this, that they were going to have to kill someone. Maybe she had been a fool not to notice how precarious the whole plan had turned out. Or maybe she did, but decided to ignore it. After all, she also had something to gain from it. Yet she had never thought she would be involved in murder. Yes, they had talked about their plans to get rid of Letitia, but she never thought that would mean her end. There were other ways to get rid of someone without having to kill them. Now she was beginning to think that she and the woman in front of her were talking about two different things. In all honesty, Tegan had long given up on her claim over Darium. She wasn't mindless, she knew the king had zero to no interest in her. Even when she warmed his bed, she was nothing more than an easy fuck, someone he could use to take away the day's stress. There was never a single shared emotions between them. Which was one of the reasons she hated Letitia. She could see the look in the king's eyes the very first and last time they shared breakfast together. She could sense the warmth in his gaze. It didn't help that the young queen was flawlessly beautiful, causing her to be filled with envy. She wanted everything the young queen had. Wanted the king to look at her with such love and warmth in his eyes as he did the queen. But Tegan knew all that was wishful thinking. Her greed and jealousy had made her join forces with the likes of King Oren and the mentally deranged woman in front of her. Now she wasn't sure how to get out of it. Tegan was snapped out of her thoughts when the woman began speaking. Worry not, Lady Tegan, there is no way I would ever be caught. There had been no witness to the Ahade's maid's death. I very well made certain of it. You can't be that certain? Anyone could have seen you. Maybe one of the maids in the palace could have easily recognized you and pinned you as the killer. Like I said, I had been discreet about it. There is no way the so-called Queen of the Nisha would ever suspect a thing. Her will to trust just anyone would be her very end. The woman chuckled coldly. Besides, if anyone is to jeopardize our plan, it would be you. What? Tegan stuttered out, caught by surprise at her words. She wondered if the woman was suspecting her change of heart and how badly she wanted to walk away. I have no idea what you mean, Tegan says, after being able to compose herself. You know better than to return to Nisha. I wonder why King Oren let you out of his sight. You know for a fact that your recklessness could cause us our plan. Tegan stared at the woman in disbelief. Here she was accusing her of the possibility of ruining their plan when she had been the one to kill a court maid in the palace. She bit back her words, deciding to coax her instead. I had only wished to visit my family. It had been a while since I had seen them and I was missing them dearly. I believe you have overstayed your welcome. Return back to Hayatia. Why don't I stay a couple more days? I have only been here for a week. I don't know when next I will set foot in Nisha. Be patient, it won't be long. The woman said so, leaving no room for argument. Tegan sighs dejectedly, casting her head down in defeat. Sometimes she couldn't help but wonder why she would let a woman of such status speak and order her in such a manner. It was no news that her family was high status. With her father being a part of the king's council of men, the likes of this woman could never order her about like she was some filth to do her bidding. And as much as she wanted to do what was befitting for her, she knew not to cross the woman in front of her. Not when she had the backing of people like Oren. Very well then. Tegan mutters with a curt nod. Leave by the end of the evening. The woman orders, walking past her out of their hidden spot and, in the process, nudging her shoulder with hers. Tegan watched the retreating form of the woman before sighing and making her way out into the open street. The sun was beginning to set, which meant she needed to get her things ready for her journey back to Hayatia. With yet another miserable sigh, she runs her hand through her dress, getting rid of an invisible wrinkle when she feels something warm on her shoulder. She runs her hand through it, bringing it to her face, and she gasps, spotting a red stain on her palm. The following day, I woke up earlier than usual and was greeted by Darium's face close to mine. My head rested on his arm as he slept peacefully, his breath even, with his lips parted a little in a cute manner. Yesterday, when he had offered to help with my bath, he had been so generous and caring as he lightly massaged my shoulders, waist, and legs. Relieving the knots that formed in my muscles helped me sleep better. Running my fingers softly through his hair, he sighs in contentment, breathing in and out as he continued to sleep. Not wanting to disturb him, I rolled to my side of the bed, getting up to my feet. I picked up my robe that was hanging on the stand and wore it before tying the belt securely around my waist. The sun had only risen, and I was somewhat hungry, so I decided to start the day with a bit of fruit while breakfast was being prepared by the maids. Softly making my way out of the room not to make any noise, I closed the door behind me, giving a curt nod to Gareth when he bowed to greet me, then began making my way down the stairs and towards the direction of the kitchen. I watched as the servants wandered past me, all bowing their heads as they went about their task for the day. "Good morning, Your Majesty!" Diane greets me with a smile, to which I gladly return. "Good morning, Diane," I greeted, making my way fully into the kitchen, watching as the rest of the kitchen staff go about their day, and bringing out the ingredients needed to prepare the day's breakfast. "What would Your Majesty want to make you come here at this early hour of the morning?" Diane asked, her tone a bit scolding as she gazed at me in a motherly way with eyes full of warmth. "I believe I'm having a craving this morning," I laughed cheekily. "The little one seemed to be hungry," I said, rubbing my baby bump. "So I thought a plate of fruits wouldn't hurt to have before breakfast." "Very well then, we don't want to keep the little one waiting," Diane says, proceeding to the fruit basket, taking a handful of fruits, like mango, banana, grapes, and the like, before proceeding to dice them into smaller pieces. She placed the plate of diced fruits on a tray, along with a glass of freshly squeezed juice, and picked it up to give it to me. I took the tray from her, watching as her brows creased together like she was biting back a pain. "Is everything all right?" I asked when she winced. "Yes, Your Majesty." "Are you sure? You seem to be in pain just now," I ask again, worriedly. "I'm afraid I'm getting too old, causing my muscles to strain." "It's really nothing. Your Majesty doesn't need to be concerned about me," she says it warmly, clapping a hand over her left shoulder. "Why don't you take the day off? I'm sure the kitchen can function without you." "Silly. There's no need for that. Do not deprive an old woman of the joy of working. I will be fine. Beside, I already visited the healer for an herb to treat my sore muscle." "Diane, run along and have your fruit, you don't want to keep the little one waiting." I sighed, knowing it was futile to argue with her. "Fine, but if the pain still persists, I command that you take the day off." "I will, Your Majesty." She says this with a smile on her face as she ushers me out of the kitchen. I walked out of the kitchen and made my way towards the stairs, passing a group of maids who seemed to be cleaning and tidying up this part of the palace. I gave them a cot nod when they greeted me, smiling at them as I made my way upstairs, failing to notice the wet floor on the stairs. A yelp left my lips when I felt my legs slide through the floor, and I found my back bent down as I began to fall backward. I closed my eyes, bracing for my fall. When an arm wrapped around my waist, my back hits a warm chest. My breath was heretic, and my arms wrapped around my bump in a protective manner. I slowly peeled my eyes open, turning back to glance at Kiva's blazing eyes. Her stare was hard as she looked at the maids present. "Your Majesty." The maids called out all at once, falling to their knees, their faces full of terror. "How unethical is it to litter the floor with water without mopping it off properly? Do you have any idea what could have happened had the queen fallen? The king would no doubt have your heads." She snarls. "Kiva," I called out, moving away from her hold. "Don't blame the young maids. If anything, I'm the one to blame for not paying proper attention to where I was going." "Milady, they know better than to be this careless, especially since you are with a child." She glared at them, causing them to cower even more. "I'm fine, Kiva," I said, staring down at the tray of fruits and drinks, which were scattered across the ground, and I sighed at this, my arms still wrapped around my bump. I couldn't bear to think of what could have happened had Kiva not broken my fall. The thought alone was petrifying. "Milady is shaken up, you are anything but fine." "Put it to rest, Kiva, I will be fine," I said, trying to calm my racing heart. I couldn't bear to lose yet another child. I can't go through such pain again. "Carry along with your task," I said to the maids as I made my way back up the stairs, leaving the tray of fruits and drinks to be tidied up by them. "Milady, do you think it's wise to let them go like that? They deserve to be punished." "Kiva," I called out, halting my steps. "I will like not to make an issue of this, if you don't mind. And aren't you supposed to be resting?" "I took more than enough rest yesterday, and I'm perfectly back to health." I nod before carrying myself up the steps. When we got to the hall of my room, I turned to look at her with a worried expression. "I would like it if this is kept between us." "Why?" "His Majesty deserves to know what has happened. I don't want to worry him." If I remember correctly, Milady had been mad that His Majesty had kept a secret about the death of your child, but Milady wishes to do the same. She questioned with raised brows, and I couldn't help but feel sad, knowing she was right. The thought of this morning's incident still left me a bit shaken up, and despite not wanting to make an issue of it, Kiva's words made more sense. I couldn't expect Darium to be truthful and not keep a secret from me while doing the same to him. And as much as I didn't want to worry him, I had to tell him what had happened earlier this morning. To say he had been pissed was an understatement. He tried to get more information about the young maids involved. Thankfully, I was able to calm him down, letting him know they weren't at fault. Regardless of how pissed he about my life and that of our child been endangered, he didn't fail to scold me on my lack of attention to my surroundings, and at the same time comfort me that I didn't need to be unsettled anymore since Kiva had been there to break my fall. He had also talked about rewarding Kiva for being quick-witted and saving me. But later she turned down any form of gratitude, saying she was doing her duty and also wishing no harm towards me or the next heir to the throne. I won't deny the fact that her words touched my heart, and I couldn't help but be thankful to have her by my side. She has been nothing more than a source of blessing since my arrival in Nisha. I couldn't be more thankful that she had been assigned to me as my court maid. Right now, Neith and I are together in the fitting room, waiting for the maids to come in with a new set of dresses. "When do you plan on departing for Silvio?" I ask Neith, taking a bite from the plate of fruits placed in front of me. "By tomorrow evening," she answers with a smile. Celeste is no doubt excited for her trip to Silvio and insists I get her new set of clothing before our departure. For someone so young, she sure does act a bit older. I'm guessing she wishes to make an impression. "You have no idea, I'm very much certain she is nursing a crush on the little king," Neith says, referring to Alvar, and I couldn't help but smile at that. I knew for a fact that the little princess had been smitten by Alvar from the very first day, yet it was hard to tell what the little boy thought of her. For someone so young, he was certainly good at masking his feelings when he needed to. My guess was that with everything he had been through at the hands of his mother's sister, he had become more guarded, even at his young age, which caused an ache in my heart. "I hate that I can't go with you both. It's Alvar's birthday, and I wish nothing more than to be there during his celebrations, but Luca has been stern with his warning and has said not to travel long distance, seeing as I only have a few months to deliver. I'm most certain the little king understands your reason for not attending." She said this just as the door opened and the maids walked in with clothes of different colors and designs, all in little sizes. I would very much like your assistance in picking a dress for Celeste. Another set of eyes won't be so bad. She needs the best of the best if she wishes to impress the young king, Neith said as she signaled the maids to begin. They held onto the first cloth, spinning it around for me to have a proper look, but for some reason I didn't like it despite how extravagant it looked. The maids carried on showing me different dresses, and I wasn't sure how long I sat there. I couldn't help but feel admiration for any woman who was able to sit through the entire process of trying to find the perfect dress, let alone for a child. But like Neith said, she needed the best for her daughter. I knew I was already going nuts out of my mind just sitting here, looking at this dress for hours. We remained here for hours until I was able to make a decision on the dress for Alvar's birthday celebration. Once I was certain Neith was satisfied with the choice of dress for Celeste, I excused myself, making my way out of the fitting room as she ushers the little princess in to try on the dress. "Where is the king?" I asked Gareth as I stepped out of the dressing room. "Your Highness has decided to go to the royal bathing house for some relaxation after the day's stress." "Lead the way." I say it to him, and he nods. I have been to the royal bathing house before, but I didn't see the need for it, and I usually had my bath in the bathing chamber. Gareth stopped after some time in front of a cave-like tunnel. He stands outside with other guards that were around while I walked in with Kiva behind me. There were 2 doors, one happened to be the changing room, while the other was the pool. We got into the first door, and Kiva helped me out of my clothes and into a robe to cover my bare body. "You don't need to wait for me," I tell her, and she nods, going out of the room. I let my hair loose, letting it flow down my back, before leaving the room to go to the pool where the king was. Taking off my robe, I walked into the bathhouse, where the king was. Finding him in the pool, resting both hands on the wall of it. He smiled when I climbed into the stone pool, walking up to him. "How was your day?" Stressful. Neith had me going through different sets of clothes for Celeste. She believed the young princess to be nursing a crush on Alvar. Darium's brows creased a little. "Isn't she too young for that?" "Maybe, but the little princess turned 6 only a few months ago," I said. "If ever we do have a daughter, I wish for her to be free of any boy till she is 30. "Do you wish for our daughter to be deemed a spinster?" I ask, amusement sipping in my voice. If ever our daughter finds love, we shouldn't be in any way a burden to her love life. Fine, I can settle for 25, but I most certainly won't like it. I don't want her to catch the eyes of any lustful men. I know if ever we do have a daughter, she's going to be an absolute beauty, with you as her mother. I laughed, feeling giddy at the possible thought of our future daughter. She was no doubt going to be the apple of her father's eye, seeing how possessive he was at the thought of her. I could tell he was going to love and cherish her, maybe sometimes being overly protective. Either way, I couldn't wait for such a future, with Darium, me, and our beautiful children to come. My hands found their way to his chest while he wrapped one around my waist. I trailed kisses down his neck and chest. "I hate that I have to leave for a hate soon," he whispered, nuzzling his head against my neck. "I hate leaving you here alone." A smile graced my lips as I looked up at him, keeping eye contact with him before laying kisses on his chest. "I hate that you have to go too, but worry not. I will be fine. I have Kiva and Gareth here to keep me company. Devlin's wife, Minerva, would be here as well. This would give us the time to bond properly. I believe we haven't gotten the chance to do so. I'm most certain you both would have a great time." He laughs, getting a small smile from me. I cupped his cheek, my thumb softly caressing the skin close to his lips. "I can't help but be fearful. I wish for you to return to me, to us," I said, taking a hold of his hand and resting it on my bump. "I will, Etl-RD. Darium replies, with a voice full of confidence, "I would always return to you, Letitia. No matter what the circumstances might be, I will always come home into your embrace." Our eyes met, and desire and lust danced through them. His muscles and arms grabbed my cheek, and without waiting a second, his lips were on mine. I let out a gasp when I felt his teeth bite my bottom lip. His tongue started to caress me, desire filled my body, It was like a fire was resting inside me, burning everything on his path. A breathless moan escaped from my lips when he pulled back slightly and gazed at me. His thumb came down to caress my bottom lip, my eyes followed his movements, and his never left my lips. He gave me a small smirk, clearly proud of my disheveled state. He brought his lips back to mine, but this time he was more gentle. He moved his head toward my heaving chest and took a hard nip into his mouth.